أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي واشدد به أزري واشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. O Lord, bestow upon us the goodness of this world and that which this world points to, and protect us from falsehood and meaninglessness. Ameen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. O Lord, open the doors of wisdom and mercy and guidance and shower your blessings upon us. Amen. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah, everyone is doing great and reflecting upon every moment that is being bestowed upon us, inshallah, and really searching for what our existence points to, inshallah. So today we are going to proceed with the fourth ray on the meaning of what does it mean to have a point of support in our lives. And if I do have a point of support, then how profound do I deem this point of support to be? And what kind of relationship do I have with this point of support? So to ease me with all my anxieties, pain, broken heart, worries, and anything that puts me at unease. So inshallah, this expounding from Nursi, may God be pleased with him, on the verse Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. It's a beautiful verse, actually, just even at face value. Really saying that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, for us God suffices and he's the best disposer of affairs. That's really a great statement. It seems to be like a good news that someone is there taking care of our affairs, because the reality of this dunya or this world and this universe is such that it's hard to, at least for me, it's very challenging for me to notice the real disposer of affairs. And inshallah, if we can all find that point of support that we can all lean on to, then inshallah, it's a win-win situation, I would say. So this is a verse from Quran chapter 3, verse number 173. So we went upon various degrees with the author in terms of how can we actually tap into this understanding of having a source of existence, or everybody concludes the universe must have a creator, and definitely given existence, I must have a source of existence. But that enough? Is that enough? No. So belief in God does not satisfy me at all. It's belief in God alone is not sufficient for my affairs, for my day-to-days, really, because I'm bombarded with myriads of worries, anxieties, things that I think that I am in control of, but then I say, no, I'm not in control of, but who is in control of them? So inshallah, let's dive deeper into this understanding of Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. For us, God suffices. He's the best disposer of affairs. So, last week, what happened was we were trying to understand exactly our reality here, where the author walked us through how we all are in need of immortality. This innate desire for immortality is rooted within each of us, in our make, in our ingredients, and it's this desire for immortality that leads us to all sort of despair, feelings, worries, everything. And so, and how do I then, I think, execute this desire for immortality within me in a way that is suited with my human expectations? And it's some just highlights. I'm just speaking out loud here, inshallah, with the hope that everyone is gonna chime in so we can all really be comfortable and satisfied in our existence and being here. It's interesting how Nursi always mentions that I'm safe from endless sorrows arising from the love of fellow men and relatives, like through the insight of belief. So this insight of belief is something very profound, it seems. It's something that if I can tap into, should help me get some sort of ease and relief from all my worldly ties, which are needed. I'm not saying where we shouldn't, just exit out of it. No, it's that's how I get to know my needs and who provides these needs. So through creation, I cannot avoid any of this. If I was not given creation, then I wouldn't. We wouldn't be here right now discussing on any of this. So, so this part about, let me check. Oops, where am I doing? Like, really sorry about this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What was the point last week that we really wanted to go over? We were trying to make sense of it. Was it? Do you remember where were we?
Yeah, so one thing I didn't understand was everyone, but the thing about this intense desire of immortality is given by, I feel that it's given by someone, so basically him, who has made me the absolute one. I can complete that. But the part that was a little needed to work on is when he was saying that just the fact that there is the absolute one, his essence is there, is sufficient enough to love him. So even that sense of immortality is not something I need to be that much concerned anymore. Although I have been given that but there is this intense, this motivation for love, and the sentence was a little cryptic for me.
Which sentence? Can you let us know? What page?
In the middle, page 74 page in the paragraph in the middle somewhere.
He had given the desire for
And while
immortality.
the perfection of his essence, which apart from itself requires no other reason or motive for love, was sufficient as the cause of worship. So you can break that sentence down a little bit.
Yeah, inshallah. I think that's what we left off last week. That was the end. And so I think some of us did share in some insights, but we said that we are going to revisit this piece again today. So it's interesting. Let me just a little recap. So we are given this desire for immortality, and while the perfection of his essence, which apart from himself requires no other reason or motive for love, was sufficient as the cause of worship. So I think delving into what's this cause of acknowledging my reality, perhaps, which really, I would say, everything arises from this need of love within the human being. But what is being mentioned here, I'm not clear either, which apart from himself requires no other reason or motive for love. I'm not sure, so I'm gonna let's see if anybody here in the chat can help us a little bit understand what can possibly mean by which apart from himself, so requires no other reason or motive for love. So pretty much whatever is the cause of existence of this universe, that's the motive behind anything.
Yeah, so from last week's discussion, I remember we had kind of, with the help of our friends, we kind of saw that the mirror, as we saw, as the author was sharing, that he began to worship that his desire of immortality much more than the one who gave it to him. So I felt that, or his beloved on his ego willing him began to worship the mirror itself. So that it should not be the sole reason, basically. That should not be a reason.
Which one?
To love, the desire for immortality.
Oh, yes, of course. That makes sense. Like,
because if I focus on that desire for immortality, then I'm
just alone.
From this author's ascension, I would say he's going into some reflections here. He's saying you're missing the point on this feeling of like the God suffices, and he is for the best disposer.
This is interesting. That I'm glad you're bringing this up, because then I'll be in a lonely state if I don't have a point of support, just desiring immortality by itself without having a point of support. So even this desire for immortality should connect me to a point of support. Maybe I cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm thinking like, don't we need something to realize all this? We need the universe to realize all these feelings and senses. So why is this feeling, although it's considered, but it can act as a mirror, like one starts worshiping that particular feeling.
Well, what we can do is we can reread this again, inshallah. Like while everybody else is thinking, I'm a little bit thinking myself here. So, page 73, the race. I had the firm conviction and through the insight of belief, knew with absolute certainty that while the intense desire for immortality looked in two respects to the eternal existence of the enduring one of perfection, I had become someone stunned and bewildered who had lost his beloved on his ego, veiling him and begun to worship the mirror itself. So that's just what you were saying about being lost in the mirror. It could be, love for just my own self without any real point of support.
Right.
Okay. And that's legit. Like we do fall into that error. That's why we need this constant redirection, if you will. That very deep, powerful desire for immortality governed in my essential being. So it's just not coming by on its own, like it's not aloof, just a haphazard thing. Governed, like this word governed in my essential being by means of the shadow of one of the names of the absolute perfection.
So whatever I do, choose in terms of my effort, whatever I do, like we kind of want to live here, right, forever. That's us feeling also to live forever, and we, if you get sick, you try to get the cure for that. So you take care of yourself. If you see danger, you run away from it. Every creation, also creature, is given the same feeling. That's all exercising this feeling of this desire for immortality. It comes under that. So that's a very powerful desire for immortality, governed in my essential being. So that's how it's governing in my essential being every moment. I'm always on the lookout. Hey, nothing should bother me. Nothing should hurt me. And that particular, it's a shadow compared to what I think we saw, that the feeling of immortality is the shadow of one of the names of the absolute perfection. And then here says, who is loved and worshipped for himself. That's it, and no other reason. So there's no need for any other this feeling or anything, but just the fact that he exists is sufficient.
Yeah, but that makes sense actually. It's just like a direct relationship. Like it's not the shadow that I'm. Maybe it is the shadow that I'm loving also.
The shadow. The shadow is not real.
Points to something.
It points to something. To a real object.
Oh, so the shadow is the means. That makes sense. The shadow is the means pointing to the object. So that's the one that is loved and worshipped for himself. That makes sense. So that's what for you.
Becoming clearer. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, right? That's what I was thinking. It's love and worship and no other reason. And whom it is man's nature to love. Okay, yeah, that's alhamdulillah. That got clear. So he had given the desire for immortality, and while the perfection of his essence, which apart from himself, requires no other reason or motive for love, was sufficient as the cause of worship. Even the perfection of his essence was sufficient as the cause of worship. Yeah, of course. So when you know the object that the shadow points to, so why not? As we explained above, by bestowing the above mentioned enduring fruits, each one of which is worthy of having sacrificed for it not one life in immortality, but if possible, thousands of worldly lives and immortalities. He had made that innate desire even more intense. This I perceived and felt. So I think this goes back to what you were saying. Nobody wants to die, pretty much. Nobody wants to, we want a perpetual existence. We don't want to go into annihilation or, so even if one was to be given 1,000,000 or thousands of lives here, that still wouldn't be sufficient as the cause of worship, because what this desire for immortality points to is really love for the absolute perfect one, or the love for, I would say, the real object. If it had been within my power, I would have declared with all the particles of my being For us, God suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs. For us, God suffices, and He's the best disposer of affairs. And I did declare it with that intention. Also, the insight of belief, which seeks its immortality and the eternal existence of God. Ah, look, this is interesting. This need for immortality is connected to an eternal existent one. Otherwise, it's all meaningless. I think this is the whole point. If I know that the source of my existence is an eternal, enduring one, then that suffices. Yeah, that suffices. Yeah. Okay. Also the insight of belief, which seeks its immortality and the eternal existence of God, some of the fruits of which I have indicated above in the paragraph starting also, so all the paragraphs that starts with also, afforded me such pleasure and joy that I exclaimed with all my spirit, all my strength, from the depths of my heart, together with my soul. For us, God suffices, and He's the best disposer of affairs. Inshallah, subhanAllah, sounds interesting and nice. Okay, I just going to pause and see if anybody wants to add anything or any impressions, or if you want to share any of your sentiments, feel free to do that. Okay. All right, so I think we can today continue on with the second degree of the luminous verse, for us God suffices. At any point, inshallah, if anybody wants to share something or has a question, feel free to raise your hand and we can listen together and try to make sense, inshallah. So again, we are reading from the race, page 74. We are in the middle of the page, the piece that says the second degree of the luminous verse, for us God suffices. One time when afflicted with old age, exile, loneliness, and isolation, in addition to my innate and infinite impotence, the worldly were attacking me with their spies and stratagems, and I declared, armies are attacking a single, sick, weak man whose hands are tied. Is there nothing that unfortunate, that is me, can find to support him? Is there nothing that unfortunate can find to support him? I had recourse to the verse, for us God suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs. It told me through the relation resulting from belief, you may rely on a monarch so absolutely powerful that together with every spring equipping, through the relation resulting from belief, you may rely on a monarch so absolutely powerful that together with every spring equipping with perfect order all the armies of the plants and animals on the face of the earth, which comprise 400,000 nations. He renews the uniforms of the two regular armies of the trees and flying creatures, clothing them in fresh apparel and changing the skirts and top garments of the hens and birds. He changes too the dress of the mountains and the veil of the plains. It's interesting, not only the human being is changing, aging, but like everything that we see around us, the tree across your street or even the sky, it's, you know, canopy gets changed every moment. So everything is subject to change. So all this change must point to a perfect absolute one who's in charge of the affairs, or who's the disposer of affairs of this universe. Furthermore, this monarch places all the rations of the vast army of foremost men and all the animals in the merciful extracts known as seeds and grains. It's merciful extracts known as seeds and grains, which are far more wondrous than the food extracts. Like the meat, sugar, and other extracts the civilized have discovered in recent times. He rolls up inside these the instructions for their cooking and growth in accordance with divine determining, depositing them in minute casings for their protection. The creation of these containers is with such speed, ease, and abundance from the factory of be and it is. Kun fayakun. Quran chapter 36 verse 82. So the creation of these containers is with such speed, ease, and abundance from the factory of be and it is, that the Quran says it is carried out at a mere command. Although all those extracts resemble each other and are of the same matter and would not fill a town, the munificent provider could fill all the towns on the earth with the exceedingly various and delicious foods he cooks from them in the summer. Thus, you may find a point of support such as this through the relation of belief and rely on an infinite power and strength. It's interesting how he's making us reflect on creation around us, like our day-to-day. Food is something that we all relate to, communicate with. So really pondering over on the existence of it, like how it's brought about from the seed to the process that we observe, and different varieties of it comes just, we would say, oh, soil, water, and a seed, some colorful, tasty, beautiful, different design sort of food come out of it. It's, if it's not miraculous, then what is it? And so whoever is the monarch of such affairs must be an eternal, infinite source that we should all connect with. Okay. On receiving this lesson from the verse, I acquired such moral strength and firmness of belief that I could have challenged not only my present enemies, but the whole world. I declared, for us God suffices, and he is the best disposer of affairs. Nice. Seeking a source of help for my infinite poverty and need, I again had recourse to the verse. Yes, Sarah, it's wow indeed, right? SubhanAllah, I would say how profound just reflecting on creation it is when we are in our senses and are able to connect creation to its creator and recognize who this creator is. Then definitely we should declare along with Nursi here, for us God suffices and he's the best disposer of affairs. So seeking a source of help for my infinite poverty and need, I again had recourse to the verse. It said to me, through the relation of worship and servanthood, you become connected to and are recorded in the wages book of a munificent master who every spring and summer sets out and removes 100 times over tables, bearing a multiplicity of foods, producing them out of nothing from unexpected places and the dry earth. This is very interesting also. Abundance of food. I think just having a conversation with a friend yesterday over iftar that nobody can pretty much die of hunger because it's just, mashallah, it's an abundance amount of produce and bounties coming in. Alhamdulillah, it's like how we don't really ponder over this. It is as though the years and the days are all receptacles for the fruits of bounty and foods of mercy that appear in unending succession. They are exhibitions for the degrees of bestowal, universal and particular, of a compassionate provider. It's I mean, really, if you think about it, it's an exhibition that is being manifested every moment, every season, every day, every epoch. And I think it's just, at least I can speak for myself, I get so maybe caught up in other things that, you know, maybe creation may seem boring after a while, although it's miraculous. It's you know, different qualities manifested in it, but you know, it's something really to connect with its source of existence. Yeah. You are the servant of a possessor of absolute riches, who is thus. If you are aware of your servanthood, your grievous poverty will be transformed into pleasurable appetite. I'll be curious to understand a little bit what servanthood means. This lesson I absorbed, and placing my trust in God, declared together with my soul, yes, that is right. For us, God suffices, and he's the best disposer of affairs. So I think just looking at anything, like any food we are interacting with, just pondering over the way it ends up in our plates, from the seed, the soil, water, the farmer cultivating it, to the big trucks transporting it all the way from California or somewhere across the globe, and then it reaching the shelf of a store, to coming into your kitchen, and then onto your plate, and then into your stomach, and then it becomes we know what it goes afterwards. So it's miraculous, this just to ponder over who the actual provider is. And I think that's what we should connect with. If otherwise, creation by itself can be, yeah, it's wonderful, it's miraculous, but if there's no connecting to what this creation points to, like the real provider, then things just become compost, meaningless at the end. And yeah, I was curious to know what servanthood is. And so I see that Mariam Ostomer, hey, welcome back. It's been a long time. Good to see you here. So if your comment looks interesting, if you can read your comment, inshallah, it'd be good to hear your voice as well. Okay, if not, then we can, yeah, no problem. So we can read the comment here. So Mariam Ostomer says, we are not the servant. We do not do anything for the creator. He does not ask anything of us. He created this beautiful world for us, gave us everything we needed, tried to make us happy. We only stay on the correct path and try to connect with him. Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you for sharing this, Mariam, that like we think that we are doing something. I think I'm like sowing the seed, I'm working, getting some money, and then putting food on the table. But no, it's very interesting. We're made in this way. We are created in a way where we interact with creation. And so everything is provided to us. Like, yeah, so everything is provided, keyword provided. And so who's the provider? So definitely a one that is setting up this beautiful exhibition and display for us. So
maybe we can replace the word with createdness.
Which the servanthood could be created. Oh, I like that suggestion. So Asim suggests that we replace the word servanthood. So if you're aware of your createdness, I like this one. Your grievous poverty, yeah, I'm impotent and in need to be given existence. So everything then transforms into pleasurable appetite because I know, hello, I don't control anything. So the one who made me is the one that's taking care of my affairs. So yeah, that would make sense. And I see a hand up. Ali Murmur, go ahead. Let's hear from you, inshallah.
Yeah, I agree with Mariam. The translation of servitude or servant is ubudiyya, being apt. It is very difficult to translate it into English because such a concept doesn't really exist in secular languages. So even in Arabic, you can say ubudiyya, but we cannot replace it with another word. It is difficult, but because the general translation of this abd or ubudiyya in English literature, those people who read the religious Islamic literature is familiar with, I think the translator preferred that. Otherwise, she is or everybody is aware that definitely servant, we are not serving God. So that is so obvious. So we keep saying this, translating abd as slave or servant is horrible within this culture, because this culture doesn't have the concept of abd. Asim suggested createdness. Created is that is also not enough. The awareness of the createdness of a person, and again another awareness that this fact that he is created needs a creator. That is the second layer. The third layer, and this servant must have have established a connection between himself as a created being and the creator. This relationship at the third level, if I accept, let us put it in a simple language, through an example, if I accept that I am created and I need a creator, and my creator must be the creator of the whole universe, not only me, because I need all the things around me, so that I will be happy with my creator. So as a result of this happiness, I have to establish a relationship with him, saying that, look, I know my status. I know that my reality of being created is in need of you. Otherwise, I cannot make sense of my createdness. That communication which expresses my need to him or acknowledges my need to him is the crux of the word abd. Acknowledgement of this need and confession of this need and turning back to him. I am in need of him, in need of you. I am aware of it. This relationship is called abd, ibudiyya relationship. How can you explain it in English? I don't know. Even belief is not enough. Belief is a very general word that there is a God. All right, that is one point. That is, of course, Miriam is here. I also welcome her. So, of course, she is always careful. I appreciate her always. So, I also thank her for her contribution because it drew our attention, her comment drew our attention to what we are talking about when we use certain words here. Okay, my main point in raising my hand was all we are talking about from the beginning of today's discussion, and also the beginning of the section we are reading, which is called the fourth ray. We have to be aware that we are such beings, such created beings, that as the sentence on page 74 says, the very beginning of the line says, intense desire for immortality. Yeah, what does it mean? If I describe myself, identify myself with a being or a body being, a body, human body, or let's say cat's body, or squirrel's body, or the body of a plant. If I describe myself, of course, this word, immortality, desiring for immortality, means nothing. What are you talking about? My bodily existence doesn't desire anything, immortality. That's why I called the secular medical studies, studying the human beings as a body, working, how the human body works, are like veterinaries who study animal body. There is no difference. But because human beings are very selfish, which is correct, we have to be selfish means I have to take care of myself first. It doesn't mean that I have to disturb other creatures' lives, of course, but first I have to save myself. That is why medical studies are concentrating on human body more than animals, but they are treating human body as animal body, but more detailed. Variations are so obvious because people express their feelings. Animals and plants cannot. So we have to get a right understanding of human beings, that I should not really reject my bodily existence. That is obvious. Here I am. But I have to turn into my human reality, which consists of the desires, human feelings. These feelings recognize no end. For example, I want to see, simple example, 300 yards or meters, not enough. Is it not possible to see 3,000, if not 3,000 miles? Why not? I want it. That's why people search for tools to help the eye to see through, in order to satisfy the human feeling of power of sight. Power of sight recognizes no limit. Go and ask whatever this, how are they called? Oh, what was they? They have the Hubble something. I don't remember the name of the place. They look into the sky with a huge capacity of
Astronauts or Hubble?
Telescopes, let's say. Okay, not telescopes. They are called, these places are called something. That's why people invent these telescopes. And also, I have to go into the details of the smallest particle possible. My eye cannot see it, but my desire to see what is inside the, for example, atom, an atom. What is inside an atom? I want to see it. What's going on there? I want to investigate. It means my body is completely different from my human feelings. And also, I want to love. Okay. Whom? I want to love my own body, my own being, correct. And also my family. Well, of course, absolutely. Relatives, friends, neighbors. And they call it nature. The trees, animals, and also I want to love the sky, the stars, and solar system. Go, whole world. I want to be loved by whom? If my family loves me, that's enough. No, I want to be loved by my friends. There is no body relationship there. It means body doesn't desire to love. My consciousness is aware that I am feeling pain somewhere. My body is lifeless. Lifeless means the cells and the atoms are lifeless. They are not aware of it. But through the nerve system, my consciousness works. And I become aware of the pain, and I don't want to get this pain hurting me, and I want to get rid of it. It means there are two things within my one being using each other, but my human side never is satisfied with my body restrictions. I want to go beyond. For example, I want to speak to my friend. Why not? Anytime I want. Why not? Even he or she is far away. I want to speak with him or her anytime I want, and the distance is not really important. It means even the distance is far away on the other side of the world. I want to speak with him. That's why people try to uh, discover the telephones and other video means, etc. And they are all in the universe, but we have to discover it, but we use it temporarily because my body dies, I cannot use them anymore. But I want not to die. I want my desires to be satisfied endlessly unless we look at ourselves that we are desiring for immortality. We cannot make sense of anything which is told in this section, in the fourth ray. Nothing. So we have to concentrate our sight which desires eternity, and that is not enough. If I desire for eternity, immortality, and if I desire no end for my feelings to be satisfied, then what is the solution? Of course, in the following of the highlighted phrase is this intense desire for immortality looked in two respects to the eternal, to forget about this, they look to the eternal existence of something. We shouldn't lose our enduring one of perfection of eternal existence of something to satisfy it, because I may make telephone, I may make video, then use internet to communicate with the people, and even I may see their pictures on the screen and communicate with them, speak to them, but at the end of the day, I die. But this desire desire for immortality doesn't want to die. That is innate in its nature. What shall I do? I need an eternal one to respond back to me. Come back to the translation of Ubudiyya, worship, so that I can present my desire to the one who is eternally the originator, source of existence of my eternal desires, so that I will turn back to him. Only you can satisfy me. That's why the author said in the second degree of this verse, for us, God suffices, whatever they do, whatever the people or the threat of death or the idea of death, whatever comes on me and attacks me, I don't care, because I have directed my sense of desire for eternity to the one who is the creator of this sense, who must be, because he created me with this desire, he must be the one who satisfies me. That's why only the phrase, which is also taken out of the Quran, the eternal existent one's speech and promise to me, verbal explanation, this verbal explanation says, I am the one and who will satisfy you. So become aware that only I can satisfy you, so that you can communicate with me and present your need to me. God suffices for us, nothing else. God means the eternal source of existence, who must definition be infinite in and of himself, who must be self-existent, who must have no limit, who must be not in need of anything else, who must be not a part of this universe, because anything part of this universe cannot be the source of the desire for eternal existence, eternal enjoyment. So we have to bear always this aspect of the subject, that I have to listen to myself, then study this text. Only then this text makes sense to me. But if I don't concentrate on this side of human beings, rather than just see myself as body, then really all my communication with the universe will be ultimately meaningless and not satisfactory for my human side at all. Whether I am a believer or a not believer, I would say, really, this life, as I am getting old, I'm going to lose everything. It wasn't worth living at all. Why did I suffer in order to gain something, so that this temporary, the text uses also this temporary, limited manifestation of immortality. Means, for example, I am 70 something years old. So I have been living here for 70 years, seems to be 70 years, that's a long time. I'm going, good. But I know definitely, for sure, I'm going to lose everything of this world. But my desire is my desire for eternity. This is not material. It will remain as I am. My body will deteriorate, but my desire will be stronger and stronger for eternity. So they are contradicting each other in the development. The more my body becomes ages, the stronger my desire for eternity demonstrates, shows itself. That is the conflict between me and limitations of my body. That's why human beings are struggling under the name of scientific researchers in order to compete and defeat the limitedness of human ability to satisfy human feelings. This conflict, if you ask even a person doesn't believe in God, what are you doing? I am trying to make most of my life here. So how? Finding out a new tools in order to satisfy myself. It means, do you think the world is not enough for you? No. Body is not enough for you. It is aging and it is limited. I want more. Although he says, I don't believe that human beings are more than the flesh and bone. It is an obvious contradiction. If we are flesh and bone, why should I bother expanding my ability to practice my desires beyond the capacity of my body? Why should I bother about it? It means whether I believe in God, whether I believe in God or not, doesn't matter. I acknowledge that I am not consisting of body only at all, and my existence is not related to this transient world at all. as a human being. My body is related to this world, transient world. That is why it gets older and older and deteriorates at the end. But my desire has nothing to do with this universe at all. That desire needs a point of support, which is the realization of this desire itself, realizes consciousness itself, realizes that this universe must be given existence, and myself in it must be given existence by the one who is eternal, who is immortal. That is the perfect communication between me and my source of existence. That is called ubudiyya. I don't know how to translate ubudiyya, and this says mutual correspondence between the creator and me, and responding back to him. You will find a better word for it. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali. That was very helpful. And yeah, this whole, I guess, reflection on recognizing our reality, and I think the desire for immortality really, it's within our human expectations and feelings, nothing to do with the corporeal side of one's being, because that's just like the universe, subject to decay. And yeah, I think we should all be connected to that human side, where the human capacity just wants to extend to beyond what this universe points to, and just the body is what's decaying. And I see, Sohail, you have an interesting comment. If you want to elaborate further on it, that would be helpful.
Assalamu alaikum. Now, just to touch on what Dr. Ali said, was talking about seeing the meaning in what aging signifies, or it reveals something about my desire for immortality. So, rather than trying to, as he mentioned, civilization trying to extend life, which is a sign of wanting immortality, but in reality, because if the choice were present, people would pick, provided their life is, they're happy with it or comfortable in their situation, they would want an unending life. So there's always this chase to prolong life, but rather than trying to understand what it means about the human being and what it signifies beyond the individual. So in that regard, the one who is aging, or everyone's really aging in a sense, rather than sort of being, a curse or something to look down upon, it really is actually quite merciful to be given that opportunity, because as he said, it makes you desire more and more the eternal life. I think that's why, at the moment of death, people generally consider, or near death, people generally consider what their life means really at that moment, not maybe necessarily when they were younger, because at that point, they become sort of self-aware of what they desire, what their life or their transient life reveals about what they want.
Jazakallah khair for sharing this. Yeah, I agree with this whole part about aging. I mean, that's like a clear sign for anyone to really recognize that they do not control anything, and so like, and the more we experience the universe, like what we refer to as aging, the more I think like this need of, I think, eternal youth or eternal happiness gets awakened as well. And it's just like an alertness. And so I think utilizing all these signs as messages, pointing to exactly what the human expectations are. And I see that Sarah Elalim, you had your hand up.
Yeah, and I was just going to, I had this staying with me for the session, and Brother Suhail's comment really just made it, like, highlighted this point. It's something that Brother Ali shares a lot, but it's something that just occurred to me yesterday when speaking with a group of other sisters, and it's so beautiful to actually feel the truth of it. So I wanted to share that in this regard, feeling, the calling through disappointment. So when someone disappoints you or something disappoints you or things aren't, as you expect them, it's so easy to get lost in that feeling and stay sort of in the worldly dimension of how that looks or what you prefer. But I was sharing yesterday, it occurred to me yesterday that we should be so grateful for that, because it awakens this intense desire for a constancy of this quality, an immortality of this quality, a lasting nature of this quality. And the more intense that awakening is through a more intense disappointment or more intense, tasting of transience that we don't like, then it that intense desire of a constancy brings us to this, what Nursi said in this session, like something about like the intense poverty awakens you to this infinite treasury. And so the final piece of that Brother Ali often shares is like, really everything now is just mesh. Everything just points to this eternal need that we have. And once we discover that, mesh, and once we discover that, the source of that, the eternal source of whatever that quality is, in a sense, it's furnishing our eternal abode. So right now, it's like through my intense needs for immortality, I have the opportunity to furnish my eternal place in a way that like actually brings me a smile, because it's like, you know what, this is an intense need right now for constant fill in the blank. And then when I find that source, in a way, it brings me joy, because it's like, this is the real place, this is the eternal place. And there's like an excitement there, because like Dr. Ali says, like, don't be cheap with your needs. Like, your need is not so that things can look good in this mirage type of place. It's actually like, it's an intense magnet inside that wakes up through disappointment, through like shaking up this need for health or well-being or XYZ. So it's beautiful to connect it to eternity here and now, and have this like flowing connection to this eternal.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your comments as well. Anyone else wants to add anything or share something? Okay, so then we can proceed with the third degree. The third degree of the luminous verse. For us, God suffices. At a time, I found my attachment to the world broken due to the pressures of my exile and sickness and the wrongs I suffered, and belief was informing me that I was destined for an eternal world, an everlasting land, and perpetual happiness. I gave up sighing, ah, and said, oh, But this goal of the imagination, aim of the spirit, and result of creation could only be achieved through the infinite power of one absolutely omnipotent, who knows the motion, rest, acts, and state of all creatures, and records them, and takes insignificant and absolutely impotent man as his friend and addressee. I like this piece. Impotent man as his friend and addressee, giving him a rank over all creatures. Thinking of this and his attaching infinite importance to man and bestowing infinite grace on him, that is, pondering over the activity of such a power and man's impotence despite his... Thank you. Thinking of this and his attaching infinite importance to man and bestowing infinite grace on him, that is, pondering over the activity of such a power and man's importance despite his apparent significance, I wanted an explanation that would increase my belief and satisfy my mind. I again had recourse to the verse. It commanded me, note carefully the us of for us God suffices, and see who is saying this together with you verbally and through the tongue of disposition. So I looked, and I at once saw that innumerable birds and miniature birds and flying creatures and countless animals and small living creatures and uncountable plants and growing things and infinite numbers of trees and bushes, like me, were reciting to the tongue of disposition the meaning of, for us God suffices, and he is the best disposer of affairs, and were calling it to mind. For the one who has disposal over them and guarantees all the necessities of their lives is such that he creates before our eyes, and particularly in the spring, in great abundance and with great ease and speed and extensiveness, without error, defect, or confusion, from eggs, droplets of fluid, seeds, and grains, which resemble each other and whose matter is the same, the adorned, balanced, and regular 100,000 species of birds, the 100,000 sorts of animals, the 100,000 varieties of plants, and the 100,000 kinds of trees, which all with their distinguishing characteristics are different to each other. With all this intermingling, resemblance, and closeness, he demonstrates to us his unity and oneness within the immensity and majesty of his power. I understood then that it was not possible for there to be any interference or partnership in that act of dominicality and disposal of creative power which displayed such innumerable miracles. I noted the I in the for us God suffices. That is, I considered myself, and I saw that among the animals, he had created me miraculously from my origin, a drop of fluid, had opened my ear, attached my eye, and had placed in my head a brain, and in my breast a heart, and in my mouth a tongue containing hundreds of scales and measures with which I might weigh up and know all the gifts of that merciful, most merciful one, stored up in the treasuries of mercy. He had inscribed on these thousands of instruments for unlocking and understanding the treasures of the infinite manifestations of his most beautiful names, and given instructions to the number of smells, tastes, and colors for the assistance of those instruments. Ali Murmur, go ahead, please.
Before going further, this author keeps saying that all the seeds are the same in their meta. And also animals seeds also are the same meta. But nowadays, a biologist will hear this and then start laughing. We'll say, the seeds are the same. Come on. That is an absolute blunt ignorance. DNAs are different. So they think that the matter is growing into a plant or a matter in the animal life, growing into an animal being, including human beings. No, DNA is shooting. This is full of knowledge. But what they don't realize, that's what they say, and it seems to be very simple-minded mess to say that all the matter, all the seeds and things look like each other, and they are they consist of the same matter. Come on, no. Every being has his own unique DNA structure, whatever they call it. Okay. I would like to give an example while I was listening to you and trying to think and make sense of the text for me. I was looking at my book and following your, I don't like the screen. I like my book and put my notes on the book straight away, immediately with my pencil. So if I don't like them, I erase them. So it's practical for me. I said, this book and this page and the other page and the other page, this book, another book, they are materially the same. Aren't they? Paper, letters, ink, and the same letters. I don't know how many letters are there in English. Let's say 27 or 29. I don't know. Somewhere there. They are the same letters. But the combination of this letter makes the difference. So the matter is not making the meaning. Letters are not making the meaning, but their combination is making the meaning. And that is why, although the letters used in this page are the same letters, same paper, same ink used in the second page, but all of them are completely different. Meaning, that is why we have to see that DNA is made up of the same letters. All the DNA structure, I don't know the technical words, are written with the same letters. And the letters are particles, different particles, combination of particles. They are meta. They are the same. But the combination of them is the difference, and the matter cannot change the combination, turn into a perfect structure of a body of a being. Cannot make it. Like the letters of the book cannot make the meaning of the whole word, whole book, whole book. It needs an author to adjust the combination in order to transfer the meaning to the reader. DNA, particles, need an author to write the DNA structure. So the author is not in the DNA. Author is not in the matter of DNA. Do you get it? Did I make sense? That attracted my attention because this author, not only here, in many places, said they are the same, they are the same, they look like the same. Yeah, the books, all books materially look like the same. But this material side of the book, I'm repeating myself, I know, this material side of the book cannot make the combination which will make sense, meaning. So that out of this meaning, I communicate with the author. Out of the combination of the matter of DNA, different creatures, beings, animate beings are created, given existence. So we should bear in mind this one. It is quite interesting, actually. For me now, I notice that we have to be careful while trying to understand the text. And just saying that the matter is the same, the people say, no, they are not the same. The DNA is the source of life, they say, not the matter. Correct. Combination is the source of meaning in the book, not the letters. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Good point. Yeah, so things are pretty much not the same. Like you said, like the author is not in the DNA, but the way everything is unique in its existence, but like the skeleton of it may look the same. Like you were giving the example of the book, the letter, you know, in that regards, yeah. But like when it comes to the meaningful side of it, they're different. I mean, that's how I took it. And I see, Sohail, your hand is up.
It's not coming from the material.
The thing is,
The meaning.
yeah, it's not coming from the material. Yeah, thanks. Go ahead, Sohail.
To add to that point, what's interesting is that, you know, to sort of escape that, because it's obvious that things are essentially the same. There's not really anything fundamentally different about anything. If you really, really analyze things, they're all just particles or letters, or there's nothing fundamentally unique about one object versus another object, between a plant and a seed. But yet from that seed comes the plant. It's very interesting, or miraculous, I guess, if you want to use, if you look at it that way. But in order to escape that, you know, like the common thing now is that things, you know, emerge. There's this emergent phenomenon from the arrangement. You know, really trying to obscure the reality, because now trying to ascribe what is happening in the world to the arrangement itself, as if there is something out there called arrangement or order. You can't actually demonstrate those things. That's human perception, but nonetheless, they, you know, some particular arrangement of these letters gives you a human being, but another particular arrangement gives you a fly. As if to say the arrangement in and of itself has something to do with it. But again, you can't show arrangement. That doesn't exist out there. It's a human being's sort of perception of the world. But that's you know, where scientists trying to go now, especially physicists, you know, trying to explain how all of these things are coming out from these sort of different, just very few, you know, letters, let's say, for animals, plants, human beings. There must be something there. There still must be something there in matter. Let's just ascribe it to the arrangement. There's some sort of emergent phenomenon, but never can demonstrate it. It's just, you know, you can say it, but it has no reality. Rather than being honest and saying that this is, you know, this or this matter, and therefore the order in which the matter is in looks beyond itself, to their, you know, absolute creator source of existence. And in that regard, seeing the, rather than trying to ascribe power, knowledge, power, and will to the arrangement or to matter, to the one, as he quotes the verse multiple times, to the one for whom, for us, God suffices, and he is the best disposer of affairs. So I just wanted to add that to what Ali Murmur said.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for sharing your thoughts as well here. Does anyone else wants to make a comment? I know we don't have much time left. If not, then I think we can stop here for today, inshallah, and reflect on what was shared. And inshallah, next Saturday we can pick up from page 77. Yeah, a lot to reflect on, actually. And inshallah, may we live with the awareness of this eternal source of existence that is setting up the stage for us and making us experience all kind of change along with within ourselves, the aging, and then everything around us. But the whole point is for us to really feel this innate desire for immortality, and only through that we can connect our being to an eternal existent one. And because once we are able to make the connection, then that suffices. Adam, I saw you're unmuted, or somebody else unmuted them.
Assalamu alaikum. It's me, Inaba. So I've been also really working on something that I catch myself making a fault with, or doing a mistake. And I'll relate it with a practice that I've been doing that we can, something that we talk about a lot, which is a reflection. So I've been looking at myself in the mirror, my face, and noticing how it changes so much, meaning that the reflection of what I'm looking at is always changing. And I'm asking myself, what is it that I want when I'm looking into this reflection? And probably it's something like, it's one of our many, many needs that we have. We have a need for beauty. We have a need for eternity. We have a need for being taken care of. And today I was really, looking at my mirror and realizing my own reflection and realizing how much it can change, does change, really isn't under my control, although the need is there. And I remembered being told in the Quran that, God has given me my seeing, and so that means that my seeing in itself is not something that's independent of God. In fact, it's Him who is giving me the ability to make meaning out of this reflection. And so think about this with all of our needs, and this formula that we are trying to live by, of realizing that we have needs. He can fulfill the needs, so turn to Him. But what I fail to do, I get stuck sometimes thinking that that I need beauty. He can give me beauty, or I love this thing. He can give me that thing, even if it goes away temporarily. He can give it to me again. But I'm really sort of after that thing that fulfills the need, whereas it was Him who gave me my seeing. and my ability to make meaning out of this reflection. So the reflection that I'm learning from becomes less and less important. In other words, the need fulfillment relationship, if attaching it to a thing that I think is going to fulfill, becomes more and more non-existent, or becomes more of a potential distraction from the realization that, like, it's when do we move away from or go above maybe seeing that the need fulfillment relationship is given to us, and the seeing of it is given to us in a way that we have to find that it will never be able to encompass what I'm really after, because it's not absolute. If I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm seeing the fault, and for example, as Ustad Nursi said, in chasing eternity, or chasing the fulfillment of not wanting to die, without realizing that I know it's easy to say he's eternal, so just turn yourself to him. But there's a real break, I think, that happens when you realize that we're talking about the absolute creator of that need fulfillment relationship itself, as opposed to thinking that any given creation is the bestower of what I'm seeking, and just being fulfilled with that, as opposed to knowing that he can give me any need and fulfill it. He can give me any need and fulfill it. He can give me any need and fulfill it. But it's like, move away. I'm wondering, do we step away from that eventually and say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, like he can give us any need and fulfill it, give us any need and fulfill it. So therefore, for sure, certain he suffices us. And in fact, it's him that I wish I could get to, as opposed to seeing even the fulfillment as like a secondary cause. Does that, I apologize that may seem unclear.
Thank you for expressing yourself out, Inaba. So briefly, what I took away from what you said is, like, through transience, the human being recognizes his need of eternity. And it's obviously a step-by-step process. So as we progress in our journey, experiencing change every moment, that should really, it's a call, like you said, a means to get to know an eternal source of existence that we desire. So through transience, I get to know an eternal one. Thank you. Inshallah, we can reflect a little more on this, and next week, inshallah, we can bring up more thoughts and reflection into this. Thank you all again.
It's like he's in control of that relationship of my wanting eternity, and he could give me any other want as well, and then fulfill it in another way. And then in the end, I don't know that it matters so much what the want is, or because he can fulfill anything that any need that he gives us, he can fulfill. So in the end, it doesn't really, whatever specific want it is, doesn't really matter. What matters is recognizing that I'm absolutely owned by him, and the need and the fulfillment was owned by him, and every step in the process was owned by him.
Yeah, thank you, Naba. I agree with that. And what you said reminded me of, I don't know, there's this saying that I've heard, I think maybe somewhere someone said that I am what my creature thinks of me. So just like you were saying, the need is, even the need, the want is just a means for me to get to know who the source of my existence is. So getting a thing is not the point, right? I mean, we have needs and wants and everything, but the ultimate aim and goal is utilizing this need of wanting something as a means of getting to know this, or acknowledging the one that has been really setting up the stage for us and taking care of us. So inshallah, we can reflect more on this, and next time we can bring up some more reflections. I really apologize for going over time, and I appreciate everybody's patience, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil